What is AWS Lambda? It's a function as a service that's available from AWS. A few things to consider are that it's event-driven, so it automatically runs code in response to various events or triggers. And this is a really unique component of AWS Lambda, is that because it's event-driven, you save a lot of money because the compute is actually running only when something is triggered. For example, putting a file into S3 or sending a notification through SNS or putting something in SQS. And this is a very efficient new cloud native way of working. It's also serverless, so you don't need to manage any infrastructure. AWS handles all of the underlying compute resources. It's also scalable, so it automates scaling the application based on incoming requests. From a pay-per-use perspective as well, this is a very unique component in that it's a little bit like the utility company because you only pay for the compute time you consume, and it's even billed in milliseconds. So this milliseconds concept, if we take a second to talk about it, is really important because if you're using a scripting language with a slow startup time or slow CPU time, it really flips on its head the argument that, most of the time we're waiting for network or CPU time doesn't matter. Well, it does matter in the case of being billed by the millisecond. So faster languages like Rust, for example, or Go are really going to be optimal for a service like AWS Lambda. It also has the support for multiple programming languages. You can write Lambda functions in languages like Python. You can write it in Node. You can write it in Java. These are all different examples of the languages that are supported. Rust is supported. Ruby is supported. So it's a wide spectrum of different languages that all can fit the same elegant pattern. Another component of AWS is that it seamlessly works with S3, DynamoDB, API Gateway. You can almost think of the AWS Lambda compute as glue for every single service that's available on AWS, and that's what makes it so powerful. Finally, it's ideal for microservices. Microservices are a pattern of building small single-purpose functions that have a little bit of logic put inside of them, and these fit really well with Lambda. You are building something that's stateless. It has an input, it does some work, it returns back a request. This pattern works very well for AWS Lambda, and it also fits very well within the DevOps ecosystem where you're continuously improving your code, you're continuously making it better, and then you're pushing those changes into production. So in a nutshell, AWS Lambda is a building block for serverless applications. It's probably the most popular serverless option that's available, and it's pretty easy to get started with.